Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Yelena. If we haven't met already, I'm super grateful and happy to have you here. And if we've already met, then welcome back. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today and I'm so excited because I've been wanting to do this for a while. I spent a lot of time putting this presentation together and it's about a topic that I'm extremely passionate about. Well, of course, astrology, but the Great Conjunction, which is going to be happening here in just a few days. And this is ushering in a new era of our lives, which is super exciting. But I want to break it all down for you because astrology is like this beautiful puzzle where we pull in each piece individually and understand it, and then we put it in the whole to make the big picture appear so that we can understand it, so that we can interpret it and compare it to our everyday lives. It's this almost meditation of sorts, and it's a very spiritual practice. So with no further ado, on to the presentation. So I am going to just be up here in the little corner. I've got my little laser pointer here to if I have anything to point out on the screen. And of course, if you guys have any questions, I would love to answer them. Leave them in the comment box below. Don't forget to tap that like button and hit subscribe because I have so much more cool content coming your way. All right, guys, the Great Conjunction. This is occurring on December 21st, 2020. It is, like I said, a new energy. It is a new era upon us. Now, it's very interesting that this has made it into the mainstream media. So this is actually something that's trending. It's a trending topic, which is pretty cool. I guess I'm just happy that the word is out there and that people are showing interest in it. However, it's not necessarily the astrological component that people are paying attention to. It is the astronomy. So we're getting closer to being in the public, but you know, a little farther away. We can definitely make it happen though, I promise that. But this is the Christmas star. So it's the Star of Bethlehem, which definitely has biblical relevance, and it was when Christ was born. But later in the presentation, we are going to discuss that a little bit further. I just wanted to pop this screen in there because if you're somebody who is not well versed on astrology, or you have no knowledge of it whatsoever, you may have clicked on this video just because you've heard this in the news about the Christmas star. All right, guys, so just to give you a little idea of what we're going to be doing moving forward, first we're going to break down the pieces because you can't just explain everything and understand it. Astrology is, like I said, it's like a puzzle. It's like a tapestry that's weaved together and everything is intertwined, and you have to understand one piece in order to be able to understand another piece in order to be able to understand another piece. So we're going to break down Saturn and Jupiter and understand those planets and all of their significations, what makes them what they are, what makes the energy what it is. And then we're going to be discussing the energetic switch between zodiac signs. So these planets are moving from the zodiac sign, the constellation in the sky of Capricorn. So we're going to talk about the Capricornian energy because we really want to understand where we've been and what energy we've been marinating in before we can shift over and discuss what energy we're moving into, okay? And then we're gonna be talking about the shift in energy combined. I have so many fun slides for you. We're gonna be comparing this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction to past Saturn-Jupiter conjunctions, especially in the early 90s. And we are going to talk about some events that occurred then. And so just a little bit of historic relevance and history, and then we're going to go ahead and go through all 12 signs of the zodiac. So I'm going to give you guys just a little mini reading so you can see how it may affect your life. So anywho, that's the breakdown, but make sure you stick around to the end to get your reading, okay? So first and foremost, what the heck is a conjunction? Very good question. So in astrology, we have what are called aspects, and in an astrology chart, which I will show you on the next slide, there are all of these lines that make up geometric patterns. So if you are into spirituality, you may have heard about sacred geometry, and this is a depiction of what it is, and it's basically a sacred conversation, relationship between the planets and their transits throughout the sky. Now, a conjunction is when the two separate points in the sky, and now we're talking about the planets, right, in the solar system, unite together. So they're very, very close in terms of degrees with their orbit. And as you can see, I have a couple things here that show the union of what happens when these planets come together. So it's like enmeshment of energy. It's the coming together, the yoking, the union. And first, it's all about compatibility. So some planets are going to behave better than others in this type of fusion with one another, because some planets are what are called benefics, and they bring positive, uplifting energy, helping you with luck and abundance and living a prosperous life. And then there are more malefic planets, which bring hardship and obstacles and, you know, different things like that, challenges. So when these planets come together, it is always a different interpretation, just depending on what planet it is. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And then here I have exactness. So what also matters is their exact degree of closeness. So with a conjunction, they have to be within 0 to 10 degrees in order to be considered a conjunction. But of course, the closest that we get to 0, like an exact conjunction, the more intense the energy is going to be. So I'll just give you a little sneak peek. This Saturn-Jupiter conjunction is at 0.1 degree away. So it is the most intense possible. They're basically right on top of each other, okay? And then we've got enmeshment. This is the merging of two energies completely, almost to the point where you are not able to identify one energy from the other. It makes it very hard for an energy to just stand alone with all of its characteristics that it exhibits when it's solo. So it's very hard to kind of figure out what is going on in this dynamic. It is a little bit of a confusing merge, okay? Moving on from that, this is the chart that I was speaking of. Here's what an astrological chart looks like. So this may look just like a complete cluster to someone, but this circle right here is the path that the sun travels, which is known as ecliptic. It's its annual path. And these planets orbit counterclockwise around the chart. So along the ecliptic are also all the zodiac signs, which are the constellations that the planets are moving through in the sky. You can see the conjunction right here, Saturn and Jupiter really close together. Okay. Saturn, its transit through the zodiac, it's a slower planet. And that's what makes this aspect so rare, is that both of these planets are slower of the first 7 planets that were discovered. And Saturn's transit through the zodiac, meaning all 12 signs of the circle, it takes it 30 years. So this makes what's called a synodic cycle. Every planet has a synodic cycle. And that means that when it changes sign, it's a new phase of life for us. And it takes 2.5, approximately, because planets retrograde as well, which slows them down. But approximately 2.5 years it will last in every sign. So now that it's moving into Aquarius, it's going to be there for about 2.5 years. So whatever area of your chart that is, that's where the energy is going to be more prominent. Now, Jupiter's transit through the zodiac happens every 12 years. So it changes zodiac signs about every year. It's a little bit faster than Saturn, and eventually it will pass Saturn. But what we're worried about right now is this conjunction. It just helps to get a little bit of an idea of their cycles in general. So all great conjunctions are not created equal. And what I mean by this, we've already covered the fact that every great conjunction happens every 20 years. And they're all very powerful in their own way. It ushers in this new era of life for us. However, depending on how close they are, like we explained earlier in degrees, it is most powerful. And this one is so close. It's actually the closest that it's going to be in terms of degrees since 1623. Ushering in new beginnings. and making us have new aspirations. And we will feel that impulse. We will feel that pull to start new chapters in our lives and leave the old stuff behind that's been repressing us, that's been holding us back. And we will then get these downloads of information eventually where we'll start to realize this higher knowledge we've received and turn it into wisdom. We'll see that everything we've been through has happened for a very valuable reason. We'll begin to see the benefits that all of it has had on our life, which is the beauty of astrology, right? It's not just so we're trying to get insight on what's going to happen in our future, and playing this loop cycle around in our head and allowing fear to come in because we're afraid of these transits. No, this is all about growing and evolving and developing as a human being, as a soul on a grander level. And that's what these transits do. So astrology, it just helps us to, yes, foresee, to see the future, but it also helps us through the ups and downs of life. So it's this gift that helps us to get through these challenges with much more understanding, where we bring in that sense of self-reflection and we're able to emerge a new person. And that's what's exciting about these endings and new beginnings, a chance to start anew, right? So it's this new chapter, this new era that we're embarking on. The sun reaches the bottom point, which is relative to the equator, and it stands still. And this is when the days start to get longer. Oh, this is the winter solstice point during the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. So this may be a time of reflection, right? The standing still before our rebirth. And it's in the winter. It's when the seed is planted, but we're in hibernation. So it's all very significantly related, and it's beautiful, the connection. All right, so now we're going to be moving into the dynamic of the planets and the role that they play. So the planets are very important here. We're going to be talking first about Saturn. And I really liked this little name tag here. This is the glyph for Saturn. So if you looked at an astrology chart, this would be the little glyph that you would see. And I put this little skull here because Saturn in ancient astrology does represent the death process. And being the ruler of Capricorn, Capricorn being in the middle of winter, it's that process of breakdown and decay when everything falls apart. So we'll go ahead and start down here. Saturn, like I said, is the ruler of Capricorn, but it's also the ruler of Aquarius. And they're both signs that represent times in the winter when everything is dead, cold, life force is restricted. The energy doesn't flow as easily. It's not life promoting. And so it's all about restrictions, confinement, hibernation, the time when we're, alone, solitude, away from the world, in our own energy, the ending of a season before the rebirth of spring. And then Saturn also represents authority and maturity. These are your elders, your leaders, and people in authority. It can also represent father in some situations, but it's all about maturity, because what Saturn wants is to help you mature as an adult, to make more responsible decisions, to bring in that discipline and structure and follow rules and some sense of order so that you can reach adulthood and maturation, so that you can achieve things. Because being the ruler of Capricorn, it's all about achievement and success, right? So really, Saturn may be difficult, but it's trying to do all of this for your best interest most of the time. It encourages abundance through a lot of hard work and dedication. So it's also the ruler of karma. So if you are someone who's put in a lot of hard work and you put in your time and your due diligence, then Saturn likes to reward those individuals. But it is also the ruler of time, and Saturn is in no hurry. So it's not going to be super easy to manifest a lot of things sometimes with Saturn, unless it's combined with the right energies. There is a time and a place for everything, and it comes after you put in the due diligence. It's a more serious energy. And it also represents tough life lessons. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Saturn return period. And this is when Saturn returns to the exact point in your birth chart from when you were born. This is a 2.5-year period or so where you are faced with some of the hardest lessons of your life that really mold and shape you. And astrologically, this is when you become an adult officially. Saturn is one of those planets that is not afraid to reprimand or serve up a plate of karma for irresponsible acts of free will. All right, on to Jupiter. So Jupiter is a little bit more exciting. I'm going to tell you that. It's a benefic planet. It's known as the big benefic. And growth and opportunity are at the forefront here. So we're talking about this metamorphosis from the caterpillar to the butterfly. So it really loves to help you learn. It loves to bring in teachers. It loves to provide that perfect environment to help you expand. It brings in blessings without really a whole lot of conscious effort. So if you are somebody with prominent Jupiter in your natal chart, you might consider yourself a lucky person. And it expands your horizons. It's all about expansion. That is the key word here. It pushes you past your current circumstances and what confines you, which you can already probably start to see where the differences are here between Saturn and Jupiter, because I'd say one of the main words to describe Saturn is confinement, right? And then you've got Jupiter that wants you to break free from the confinement. So anyways, it's all about adventure and discovery, seeking knowledge, truth seekers, and wisdom. It brings in a lot of wisdom and meaning. So it helps you with your belief systems in life. It acts as a major magnifying glass to expose flaws and weaknesses and to create lasting change in your life. So it shows you lemons, but it will also give you the recipe to make lemonade. So it's not just going to leave you hanging. It's going to show you your outdated belief systems, maybe. And then it's going to show you ways or bring you teachers or bring you the right books and knowledge to help you get through it. A couple more things that are related to Jupiter are ethics, morals, and law. It helps us to uncover the shadows of the past, and that's that truth seeking, right? Morality is built upon reasons and ideas, which one acquires through education and teachers, which then guides you to develop your own philosophies. You take those teachings and you turn them into your own guidance system, which helps you to craft new belief systems and deeper understandings about the truth behind reality, about God, the universe, religion, everything that you believe, okay? So this is just a little bit of information on Jupiter. This is its glyph right here. So we can already start to see this union, this yoking between these two planets, Saturn and Jupiter. But I want to tell you one thing before we move on to the signs. So when these planets come together and their energies mesh, there is going to be one planet most times that their energy is more prominent. But there's a rule that astrologers follow, and it's based off of the order of the planets. Now, Jupiter and Saturn are two outer planets, but Saturn is a bit farther out than Jupiter is. And that means that the farther out you get, the farthest planet in the combination is going to be the more prominent energy because it is a slower moving planet. So it's going to be Saturn, which means that unfortunately Jupiter will be just temporarily stifled. Okay, which means that Jupiter is going to have to ultimately compromise and support the storyline, the plot line that Saturn is trying to push. So there are still going to be certain restrictions of our freedom, but will ultimately help us to break free. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we go along. And we are on to talking about the energies that we've been in. So we've had these planets, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, all in the sign of Capricorn. And like I said, Capricorn is related to Saturn. It is ruled by Saturn. And it carries with it a lot of the energies of Saturn. So it's all about seriousness. You must straighten up. Life is serious. Being ruled by Saturn, this is a tough, hardworking energy. Capricorns are very serious about their accomplishments. They will buckle down and get the job done. They're very grounded and reliable. And responsibility is a must. I would say it is kind of a more rigid energy that we've been in. Don't really expect to get any results without putting in the time and effort. And they're not the type of people that believe in like overnight success or anything like that by any means. So when we are in the energy of Capricorn, it's not going to be realistic for us to expect immediate results. And new rules will be put in place that must be followed when we're in Capricornian energy. So let's just look at what has happened this year, you guys. It has really been all about seriousness and all of these rules that have been put in place. Strict and rigid boundaries and guidelines. And that is where Saturn feels comfortable. It's its home sign. So we have literally been having all of these rules and restrictions put in place that have kind of bound us. They've kept us restrained because Capricorn is all about structures and foundations. So I liked this explanation. It's like Saturn is the house. It has structure. Houses have structure. They've got the four walls. They've got the foundation. They give us a place to live. You know, you need structure. You need order. And with all planets and zodiac signs, it's a spectrum, okay? So there's good qualities and there are bad qualities. So sometimes there are good things associated with structure and order. We need that, right? Or else things would be chaotic. So we have this house, which gives us a place to live. It gives us an identity. It gives us safety and security, which we need, right? But it also gives us limitation. You can think of it as like you buy a house and then you're limited. You're limited to this area, this city that you live in. You're limited to the house, you know, for however many years you stay there. So it's restrictions. It's limiting. You can only do so much with it. You can't travel. You're not going to be like a wanderer. So you're confined within these four walls, which is kind of how we've been all year. We've been within these restrictions, within these boundaries, within these established guidelines. And this also represents all the systems, the institutions that we as human beings rely on every day, like our government, financial institutions, our justice systems, and our families and our educations. All of these things which we need, but that restrict us. Capricorn energy is driven by power and success, which can be a good thing, right? If it's used in the right way. But it can also be a really bad thing when you have these structures and power dynamics, which are stifling to the human being and to us people down here who are not part of the controlled power system, right? Which is this dynamic that you've seen playing out all year long. You and the rest of humanity are starting to wonder, do they really have our best interests in mind? What really is going on here? We're starting to question, which is Jupiter, seeking that truth, seeking that knowledge, seeking deeper meaning, unveiling the truth of what really is going on here, you know? So this power seeks to dominate in the material world for control. Its ruler is Saturn. It rules over the domain of karma. So it's important that people use this power wisely, because whether they know it or not, this karma it has to be repaid at some point, right? Which is where Jupiter comes in. It's the law. It's making things right and just. So anywho, moving on from that, you got an idea here of what Capricorn energy is all about. Now on to the energy that we're moving into, which is Aquarius energy. So this is where this great conjunction is taking place. This is where Saturn's going to be for the next 2.5 years. This is where Jupiter is going to be for a while. And we're moving from an energy that's focused on these corporations and structures and authority leaders and those type of power dynamics. We're moving into focusing on the people, an energy that is focused on the people, okay? We the people. It is humanitarian type of energy, the good for all, representing a just and enlightened society at the best of its Aquarian energy. That's the best expression of the spectrum. Now, its symbol, as you can see right here in the middle, is the water bearer. And the water bearer represents the sharing or the pouring out of water to all of humanity. So the water bearer, it shares and, spreads its water to all, anyone who needs it, which is that humanitarian dynamic. Its element is air. It's different from Earth. It's all about thoughts and ideas and action. So basically it's tied in with knowledge. So this whole idea of the water bearer and being the humanitarian, spreading their water to all of humanity, it's all about spreading knowledge and helping to liberate and free the people. So with Jupiter tied in, it's like spreading that knowledge and that truth to help liberate people from their belief systems and their ties to this structure that has been holding them down, right? That has been holding us back as a society for however many years. Aquarius is also tied in with communities and groups of people. And this is when communities join together for common ideals. Aquarius energy is also very rebellious, you guys. We're talking riots and movements and different things like that to make change, where people come together to create change. And it could be in the most rebellious way against the institutions, against the man, the power of the man. So Aquarius is going to acknowledge the rules, but they don't always follow them. They are into fighting for human rights, for freedom, for creative self-expression, standing out from the crowd, not fitting in. Aquarians' energy is very eccentric, wacky, weird. It's the freaks, in the best way possible, freaks of nature. And it can be very otherworldly energy. So we're talking even things having to do with like aliens, UFOs, spacecraft, downloads of information from other realms. And this is definitely not sheeple energy, like following the crowd, following the herd. This is definitely an energy where you stand against the grain from normality and walk and march amongst this crowd of people where you are trying to make a change. And that is where the dynamic of social change comes in with this whole Saturn-Jupiter conjunction and the confines that we've been stuck in and this new rebellious, revolutionary Aquarian energy that we're in. So the visionary that's creating social change is the dynamic of Aquarius. Overthrowing the current system, which you can already see that things are kind of starting to come unglued. Things are starting to collapse. There is even a prediction of the monetary system going to collapse in the future. There's this overthrow going on, but Aquarius brings in these new ideas. It brings in this new vision for the future. And you will begin to feel this, crumbling in your life in a certain area too. But with this new Aquarian energy coming in, that brings a lot of ideas and inspirations. It's all about innovation. So taking old ways of doing things and figuring out how to make them better. Creating new avenues in our life to accomplish what we want to accomplish. New things, new chapters, new ideas, new inspirations. And that is so refreshing from where we have been. Honestly, it's like, I know that we're not out of the dark and there are still going to be challenges. There's going to be challenges in our whole life, but we are in a concentrated time of challenge right now. This is like a weight has been lifted. I really, really like the sound of this energy with the people in mind this time. And we might have to fight for our rights against the system, right? But hey, at least we're out of that dark where we're like, oh, we're stuck. We don't know what to do. People are following the crowd. They're just letting the authority tell them what to do. We don't really know where to turn. We don't know, what the truth is, what's not. And we don't know what the solutions are. We're stuck, we're confused. And that's where this energy comes in. It brings new solutions to old problems. Another important dynamic with this whole energy is the fact that we are shifting elements. So all of the 12 zodiac signs that I showed you on the wheel are all in a different element. So we've got air, water, earth, and fire. So we are moving from the earth energy to air energy. Now the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction points, this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction point marks the final meeting of these two planets in earth signs, which is another ending of a cycle. It's a huge cycle though, because this has been going on for the past 200 years. So we're now beginning this new 200-year cycle in air signs, and that significantly changes the energy. So if you really think about it, we've got 4 elements, 200 years each cycle, which is 800 years total. So we haven't been in air energy in that long. Now, earth energy, I'm going to give you an idea of what it is. It's all about material security, consolidation of resources. It's very heavy and dense, not much shifting and changing. Everything is pretty solid, grounded, rooted. It's the physicality of life. It's receptive, tangible. It's all about results and values, where air energy is all about knowledge, shifting, changing, ideas, otherworldly inspiration, thoughts, entertainment, disruption to establishments. If you think of a windstorm, and when it blows through, it will uproot the things that have been grounded. It pulls them out of their foundation. It's a destructuring energy, which is exactly what we need right now to create change, because change doesn't just happen, out of the blue. It needs some type of action. It needs a catalyst. And here's our catalyst. Here's one of our catalysts. It's all about changes in communication and collective ideas. So the ideas of society as a whole are going to change, the belief systems, the way that we view things, the way that we understand and communicate things, which is a huge deal. It's all about motion. Saturn is moving into Aquarius, which is a little bit separate from this conjunction, but it is still a huge deal. And what I wanted to touch on about this is that it already actually moved into Aquarius for a couple months, but it had its retrograde period, which is an optical illusion when it appears to be moving backwards in the sky. And it moved back out of Aquarius back into Capricorn in the summertime for a few months to finish off that cycle in Capricorn before it permanently moved into Aquarius once again. So we got a little taste of what the Saturn and Aquarius energy was going to be. And I wanted to touch on that and show you guys what that means and what it was and what happened and how you can kind of relate to some of the energies that we can expect in the future. So it moved into Aquarius March 21st of 2020 into July 1st of 2020. And I really enjoyed and felt like this little quote, or whatever you want to call it, rang so true to what it was like to move into Saturn and Aquarius from the Capricorn energy that we emerged from. And then how, this is going to ring very true to the future as well for humanity. And I want to read this to you. It says, "And the people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played games and learned new ways of being, and were still and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced, some met their shadows. And the people began to think differently." And this, obviously rang true with our quarantine and forcing us to kind of go into this solitude period, which we would have never done on our own, right? And the people healed. And in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, mindless, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they have been healed. And that's just so moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius, you know. I just wanted to share that with you guys. I felt like that was really special. So now we're going to talk about this Aquarian energy and when Saturn was last in Aquarius in the early 90s. So this is going to be kind of fun because you're going to see how the quirky, eccentric, you know, rebellious energy of Aquarius is played out in the past. And also how it played out when it moved in March. We're going to talk about that too. So like I said, Aquarius, it's all about innovation, finding new solutions to old problems, reworking ways of doing things and creating something brand new. It's very inventive type of energy. It's almost like some of these inventions that occur during Aquarian ages or in Aquarian energy, or even that come from people who were born under the sign of Aquarius, who are very inventive types of people. It's almost otherworldly, the stuff that they come up with. It's almost like they bring in the knowledge from another realm. That's that otherworldly side to Aquarius. And it's all about technological advancements as well. And we're going to talk about some of the technological advancements that have happened during Aquarian time periods. Saturn was last in Aquarius in the early 90s. I believe it was 1991 through 1994-ish, I want to say. Don't quote me on that, but it was in that time period, give or take. During this time, the internet was invented and it became extremely popular, really mainstream during this time. So as you can see, it's really crazy. It's like big inventions, things that change society forever. So it's not like Post-it notes, you know, it's not like that. It's something huge, something that's going to shift us, shift our culture, shift our society, and the way that we do things. Okay, this is going back to March when Saturn first moved into Aquarius. And I just have a couple examples here. I thought it was really crazy to learn that the internet was invented during the early 90s when Saturn was in Aquarius. But when Saturn moved in March, everything happened where we had to innovate new ways of doing things that we used to do in person because we had this lockdown. So as you can see here, I am a yoga teacher, and it was interesting. Our studios had to close down, and the teachers and the owners of the studio had to think of new ways to take their business online. So there's this revolutionary big boom of Zoom and people doing yoga classes and children having to do their school, their education online. And people that normally would never have worked from home, getting to work from home. And we begin to realize that old earth energy, right, of always having to go to a building to work, we learn that is not going to be 100% necessary, that it actually worked for us to do these things at home. Here's another interesting thing. As I was mentioning, the rebellious energy of Aquarius. So you've got people who do not want to be repressed. The minute Saturn moved into Aquarius, people started rioting. There were protests. We had the Black Lives Matter situation that was going on. The whole police brutality situations. Social reform. You have all these people. Look at this lady right here with a sign in her car. These were the protests at the state capitol. People so mad that they couldn't work, that we were not allowed to work. You know, so you're starting to see rebelliousness. People do not want these rules to be put in place. People seeking change, freedom. As interesting as it is, I guarantee you we're going to be seeing some more of this energy, because with Saturn still being there, it's not that they're just going to stop trying to put these restrictions in place. You know, there might even be an amplitude of it. Jupiter makes things bigger. It's just moving into a new sign, so the people are going to respond differently. So we might even have more of these riots. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. this is very interesting because Aquarius, being that inventive, innovative, otherworldly, technological sign that it is, brings in artificial intelligence, right? AI, merging man with technology. We've already heard all this talk on like the chip, vaccinations with chips. So I'm not sure how accurate that is, but it is very fitting. So it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. And the new inventions. Oh my gosh, can you imagine we probably won't even recognize the world in 10 years. I guarantee it. I thought this was pretty cool. I don't know if you guys remember the Jetsons, but I do. I watched the Jetsons. That was when Saturn was in Aquarius in 1962. The Jetsons are as otherworldly as you can get. They live off planet, you know. Saturn in Aquarius is all about social change. It's like societal changes. So there can be major changes in music and style, trends. So you see like Nirvana coming in the early 90s. And we went from this crazy 80s style that we were in to now grunge emerging in our culture on the scene. And you have Nirvana, which is this band that came in that was very eccentric, very odd, quirky. And this grunge music, which changed the world forever. You know, it really did. It changed the world forever, this music. Whether you liked it or not, it did. Change the world as we know it. That whole MTV culture. And everybody started dressing that way with their flannel shirts and the ripped up jeans and the greasy hair. And I know I was a big Nirvana fan. I still am. I love Kurt Cobain. But that's just another example of Saturn in Aquarius. So here's another thing. We've got the LGBTQ and gay and lesbian rights. Well, if you look back to the early 90s, you've got gays and lesbians and same-sex couples becoming a much more common and accepted thing. But at the same time, while it was being, more accepted, there were riots and there were protests and lashback because of it. So there's always going to be both sides to the dynamic. So while at this point it was becoming more accepted, now flash forward to where we are. Look at everything that's happened now. Now you've got all these other identities coming in, pansexual, demisexual. You've got androgynous and all of these pronouns and gender identities, transgender. And I was reading something that said there were a couple states that actually were allowing under gender a third option other than male and female. It was the X option. So look at, this is huge change. Is now becoming normalized. I was actually watching my astrology teacher's report on this, and I thought this was pretty cool because he did a little thing on, aliens, and like he had some references on UFOs in different times in the past when Saturn was in Aquarius, where we had UFOs and cults was a big deal. You think about this, we've got Saturn, so we've got these people of authority, these leaders and teachers. Jupiter could be like the teachers, the gurus, and it could be misleading energy. Aquarian, like I said, it's a spectrum, so it's not always 100% positive. Could be those false idols. Saturn in Aquarius, you had the Heaven's Gate cult, where there was a mass suicide because they were trying to catch a spaceship in another dimension. It was an American UFO religious cult. Crazy. So my astrology teacher is predicting that you're going to see a lot of cults. You're going to see like things that have a cult following. So you have to be very careful with the energies and the information that you're taking in. All right, so now we're going back to a little bit of the history on the biblical reference pertaining to this Christmas star, the Star of Bethlehem. So there was an old I believe it was 17th century astrologer. His name is Johannes Kepler. And he was an astronomer and astrologer. And he says that there was a meeting of Saturn and Jupiter forming the famous Star of Bethlehem the night that Jesus Christ was born, when the Magi delivered the gifts to Jesus and they saw the star in the sky. And this meeting occurred in the sign of Pisces, which is the sign that represents the two fishes and Judaism, and is also thought to be representative of the time that Jesus was born, the entrance into the age of Pisces. And I just thought it was very interesting. I had a thought that as Jesus was born under this energy and later laid to rest, which is Saturn, death, decay, suffering, and Jesus suffered for the good of humanity, you know, walking the path to help liberate humanity, which is Aquarius. So I just felt like that was really fitting. Now, also, these things were known in ancient times as celestial omens. And there was a lot of documentation about this great conjunction in the late Middle Ages and the Renaissance era. And it was even mentioned in the literary works of William Shakespeare, which I thought was pretty interesting. So it's carried all the way, however many thousands of years to now. And it is still a very big deal. So that holds some prominence right there. I would say that that kind of explains its importance. There's some biblical evidence that I found on the Star of Bethlehem. And if you want to visit the website, I've cited my source at the bottom here. I'm going to read through both of these passages quickly. From Matthew, it says, "Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, 'Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him.'" And then another passage from Matthew, "Then Herod, when he privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently when the star appeared. When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star, which they saw in the east, went before them, till it came and stood under where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy." So the guy also gave an interpretation from the website of what can we say from these two passages. So one of the conclusions was that the wise men, which were the magi that were bearing gifts to Jesus, were most likely priests and astrologers. So that's kind of cool. I really enjoyed hearing that. Another inclination from this was that the star was not very bright and obvious to everybody, but it must have held astrological significance. Also, it must have been a fairly long-lasting phenomenon. So we just spoke about the astrological significance that the ancients held with the Great Conjunction, with the William Shakespeare documentation, as well as through many different eras. And so we know it's significant. And long-lasting phenomenon, meaning that Saturn and Pluto are slower moving planets. So it is a longer lasting energy because the planets are moving slower. You know, if you can imagine how long it would take us to get to these planets, you can only imagine how long it would take for the energy to manifest right here. A couple more things. Should we take it all, including the birth in a stable, the shepherds, etc., literally? Should we take all of these things literally, the story? Or should we just take it as a tale to enhance the importance of the event of the astrology, right? The conjunction. So we really don't know. And what we've been taught is that we take the whole event seriously. And I would never say that to trigger anybody or say that we're not believers or anything like that. But hey, it's something to think about. And with Jupiter being involved in this dynamic and like trying to seek the truth, expand our belief systems, expand our knowledge of what we've been told and indoctrinated religiously throughout our lives, we really don't know how much significance the true story holds, you know? So it's just interesting to think about that. We won't go into it too much further. And finally, we can never be sure that what we arrive at is actually true, just like I said, but it remains worthwhile to explore what we can say. just to finish off my thought. That was the presentation, and now we're going to move into readings for the 12 signs. So we're going to be moving through the zodiac, and you can look up your rising sign and your sun sign. It's going to be a little bit more prominent for your rising sign because that is said to be the point that is rising in the eastern horizon along the ecliptic at the time that you were born. So it's like your first snapshot of life when you were born. And then your sun sign, it will still hold some prominence because it definitely does for me when I look up what's going on. So go ahead and check for both. You do need your time of birth in order to get your rising sign, but you can get free birth chart calculator to get this information at astro.com, or you can just type in Google free birth chart calculator. And the rising is also called the ascendant. So you can look for both. So we're basically going to stick with the theme of where will this energy be shifting your world and crumbling the systems that you've built or have in place for 2 decades in order to usher in this new reality, which is much more well suited to who you're becoming. All right, my friends, so I will put timestamps down in the description box below. So if you want to go directly to your sun or rising sign, you can just click on the timestamp and it will take you directly there. But let's go ahead and get into the readings. Hello, my Aries friends, and I hope you are so excited for this shift in energy. So this energy of the Great Conjunction is going to be transiting your 11th house. So I've put up some significations of the 11th house on the screen, but this is going to help pave the way towards new friendships for you and group association. So this may be way outside of your comfort zone. It may be that type of eccentric, wild, weird energy that you never expected that helps to liberate you and break you free from what has been binding you, what has been restricting you. But this is all put in place to help you achieve your goals and dreams, because the 11th house is also representative of our hopes, our dreams, our goals, and our wishes. So you may actually have a realization, this is a possibility, of these goals that you had for yourself. They're not in alignment any longer with what you want now. So there may be some new ideas, some new downloads, some new energies coming in that help to better align you with new goals, new dreams, new aspirations, and all of the people, your little posse and your groups and support organizations that you need to get you there, okay? It's going to be very important to have self-discipline during this time to help you reach these things. I'm also thinking of the word activism, because we have this rebellious energy. Maybe you might join some type of movement or activist group to create and usher in this social change. You may feel drawn to things like that. You're definitely going to be challenged outside of your usual I-centered focus, because Aries is an energy that is focused on themselves a lot, which is okay. They're here to be more independent. That's just the archetype. But you may be urged to focus on group energy, larger groups, maybe new friend circles that are going to last a really long time. This energy is here to stay. Hey, Taurus. This is also my sun sign, so I am well versed on this topic, but this great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter is going to be transiting your 10th house. So I put some significations of the 10th house up on the screen if you want to take a look. But Taurus, you may be feeling a bit of a crisis in consciousness, if you will, when it comes to what you want to do with your life. So this energy of, what do I want to be when I grow up? You know, what happens next? So even if it's your ushering in a new career, or you've been in a career your whole life and you're ready to step out into retirement, whatever dynamic it may be, there's a whole heck of a lot of unknown here, and this is the territory that you're going to be embarking on. And this is just the energy that you need right now. You're about to completely transform your life in the career sector, the career department, which could also be, like I said, stepping out of a career and focusing on your long-term goals for the rest of your life. This is some form of advancement, and this is a fruition point of your life that you're about to reach. I will tell you one thing, after this transit, you won't be seen the same way. You will have some type of different public identity, public status, your image, whether that be title change, career change, or whatever. Hello, Gemini. So the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter will be transiting your 9th house. Go ahead and take a look at some of the significations of the 9th house on the screen there. But Geminis, it is time to put some study and discipline in when it comes to expanding your mind, expanding your education, your belief systems. Your hard work during this time will land you right where you want to be, because the next house that Jupiter and Saturn will tick up to is your house of career, when everything comes to fruition. So this is very important to gain more knowledge and work to turn it into wisdom during this time, which takes a sense of discipline. I really love to reference the quote from Socrates here. It is, true knowledge exists in knowing that you know nothing. So finding that sense of humble, grounded maturation where you are open to learning new things, not believing like you already know everything. And yeah, just that openness alone, setting that intention, will bring you in the teachers, will bring you in the knowledge and the things that you need to get to the next level. You may have an opportunity to expand yourself culturally during this time, visiting different countries, traveling somehow. Who knows how that might play out, but I'm sure it will be a really fun adventure. Hey Cancers, I am a Cancer rising in Cancer moon, so I am right here with you in this transit, my friends. The Jupiter-Saturn great conjunction will be transiting your 8th house. So if you are interested in learning about some of the significations and the themes of this house, I popped them up on the screen for you. But Cancers, I just want to let you know that you may be challenged to face some obstacles in life related to things like intimacy, sex, past trauma. You know, those taboo topics that we don't necessarily want to take a look at, but we know that they're hindering us in certain areas of our life. And if we truly want to move forward more free, more authentic, better versions of ourselves, then we need to work on these things. They need to be brought up to the surface for us to take a look at, so that we can be freed from these invisible shackles that are binding us. Now, you may receive certain opportunities to collaborate with other people professionally, which is very positive. It'll be very important during this time to surrender, to release your tight grip that you might have on life. If you are a control freak, or you always feel like you have trouble in power dynamics, then this energy is urging you to dive into those private areas of life that you usually would not want to look at and you want to ignore. You won't recognize yourself on an emotional level after this transit. There could also be some things potentially pointing to a merge, whether that's if you just got married, or maybe somehow your finances are merging with that of another person's. You could be receiving some type of investment, or maybe, unfortunately, one of the downsides of this house and this transit would be receiving some type of financial benefit at another's expense. Maybe that would have to do with like a lawsuit of some sort, or a death, maybe resulting in some type of inheritance. Hello, my lovely Leos. This great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter will be occurring in your 7th house. If you are interested in knowing about the themes and the significations of the 7th house, I popped them up on the screen for you, so go ahead and take a peek. But Leos, you might be feeling super restricted and bound up in your relationships, or lack thereof. Now, your partnerships are going to be very magnified and under focus right now. You might learn new ways of being in relationships or relating to others that bring you a lot more freedom and liberation. Or this might be a time that you are taking a deeper look at your shadow, okay? So these are your internal characteristics that you disown. But a lot of times what we do is we project those characteristics onto other people as if it were their behaviors and not ours. So that is another dynamic of the 7th house. The 7th house represents the other in partnership. So the shadow qualities that we project onto another person. So this may be a time of really diving deep into your shadow qualities and how it plays out in the relationship dynamics in your life. So relationships, business partnerships that are long distance could actually come into the forefront. Maybe you do some type of business partnership and international affairs or something having to do with foreign countries. Maybe you meet somebody from out of the country. You might even just meet someone in general. And all we know is that Saturn brings us lessons that are the best for us at this time. So it may be some type of karmic partnership that helps us to learn exactly what it is that Saturn wants us to learn during this time. It's really time to look at what's important for you in a long-term relationship, in a partnership. So it's really important that during this time you get serious about that. Maybe make a list of what's important to you. Evaluate your values. What do you prioritize? What do you want in another person? Hello, my Virgo friends. The Saturn-Jupiter conjunction will be happening in your 6th house. If you're interested in learning about the themes or significations of this house, I popped them up on the screen for you. But Virgo, you are having a very serious emphasis right now being placed on your day-to-day routines. It's supporting your greatest good and well-being overall. So your approach at health is definitely under the microscope. What are you doing? What are some of your habits? What are some of your patterns? What are you eating? You know, do you have some habits that might be stifling your well-being, that may be preventing you from reaching ultimate health and being the best version of yourself? I just want you to know that Saturn, it delivers results based off of past actions. So that's karma, right? So if you maybe haven't been taking the best care of yourself, you haven't been prioritizing health in your routines and well-being, then Saturn may shake things up a little bit to make you realize how important health really is. So I just want to warn you that if there is some type of shakeup, at least you're going to be in the know if something like that were to happen. Taking time to focus on your health and your fitness could lead to a major quantum leap in your life and in your day-to-day existence. So it's really important that you start to establish healthier routines for yourself during this time period, even taking little small steps. It doesn't have to be like a major shift overnight. As you remember, this transit does take a while, so you're going to be in the energy for quite some time. And again, don't be alarmed by any wake-up call of any sort. It is put in place only for the good of you and your health and your life. Are you overworking yourself? It's going to have you take a look at your relationship, your work-life balance, because that's not always the best thing for us either when we are workaholics. So just take some time, Virgo, in your daily life, your health and relationships, to see what little changes you can make in this day-to-day existence that is going to be more beneficial for you and your health. Hello, my Libra friends, and I just want you to be aware that this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction is occurring in your 5th house. And the 5th house is actually quite a fun, free-spirited house. In ancient astrology, it was known as the house of good fortune, right? That's pretty cool. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about the themes of this house, I popped them up on the screen there for you. But Libra, it is time to put yourself first here, okay? You could really expand your creative endeavors right now if you put in the time and the effort. If you've been too overly focused on partnering up, then Saturn may help you to turn the focus onto yourself a little bit more here, because Saturn really wants you to hone your creativity, your passions. What are your needs right now is another important thing to think about. Are you addicted to drama? Are you addicted to sex? Are you addicted to love? Where have your love affairs gotten you? Are you headed in a direction that you really want to head in? Or is it taking away from your creative talents, from your ability to take your creativity to the next level? You'll definitely cultivate more love for yourself, which in return will help you in the romance department, because once you fix yourself and once you heal yourself internally, it's all about self-love, baby. asking yourself what your needs are and putting those things in place. And then your outer reality will have to shift because of that. And then hopefully you will attract those romantic partners that are more suited to a better lifestyle for you, more happiness, more freedom, liberation from past detriment that you've been in. Now, a long distance romance usually isn't a very good idea, but right now it actually might be something that was great for you, because you need to have fun still and focus on self-expression, but romance is a part of this house. With Jupiter involved, that does kind of bring in this adventurous, like long distance foreign dynamic. And with you needing to spend more time on yourself right now and your creative aspect of yourself, your passions, your hobbies, it might really work to have some type of long distance romance. I mean, just throwing that out there, but I want you to start pondering new avenues, virtually speaking, to take your creative passions to the next level, because we've got this Aquarian internet technological age. So what can you do to shift and innovate? Hello, my beautiful watery Scorpios. This great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter will be happening in your 4th house. And if you're interested in knowing about the themes and significations of the 4th house, I popped them up on the screen for you. But Scorpios, it is time for you to lay your foundation, okay? This is very important. So hear me out. You guys got to find a place to call home. And I'm going to explain this in more ways than one. It doesn't necessarily have to mean physical home, but for a lot of you, it will mean physical home. A lot of you will be moving. A lot of you may be buying houses or selling houses as well, laying down roots, maybe moving somewhere far because of Jupiter. You never know. Jupiter is all about adventure, travel, foreign, moving international. You never know. It's just a thought. Digging your roots in the dirt. And also, your home is your body too. So maybe finding solace in this thing that maybe you've been disassociated with. This is your body is your soul's address. So getting this right here, this inner world, your private inner dimension, is also a realm of the 4th house. And you guys, let this be an adventure. I know that sometimes it doesn't sound very fun to pack up a moving truck or whatever you have to do with your home. Maybe you're renovating and making it more comfortable for yourself, or you're doing some work that you've put off for a long time. Who knows what it might be, but let it be an adventure. And if it takes a lot of time, that's fine, because usually the things that are worthwhile take time. And you really want it to feel freeing and mixed with a sense of belonging. You want to feel like you belong. That's 4th house all the way. That's the reason that you lay roots, right? It's a sense of belonging, this comfort. Family is part of this house. So your home and family situation, it definitely might seem confusing or like it's falling apart, chaotic. It could feel stifling or restricted. And this could also relate to like old family wounds, relationship wounds with your mother, because the mother is part of this house, that will rise up to the surface to be worked through in an effort to extricate you, right? So how is your inner world looking? Hello, Sagittarius. This great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter will be occurring in your 3rd house. So if you're interested in 3rd house themes, if you want to learn more about them, I popped them up on the screen right here. But Sagittarius, it's going to be in the details for you guys. This may be your time to write, to broadcast, finding other mediums to get what you need to get out there, to communicate, to educate through different platforms. So we've already seen, this rise of Zoom and like education and teaching from that platform, and communicating through different mediums, emails, technology. It's all tied in with the 3rd house. For Sagittarius, this is some tough energy because you guys are into the adventure, the foreign travel. So you're definitely feeling that burden and the restrictions and boundaries of Saturn that have been put in place. And they probably won't be going anywhere anytime soon for you. So you're definitely going to need to keep your adventure on a more local trajectory and find new and innovative ways to do so. How can you expand with this big part of your energy being contained is going to be the challenge that you're up to. This could be a great time to eliminate information that's coming in and clouding your belief systems and your unique view of the world. So this might be a time when you actually craft your unique view of the world. Once you stop watching the news, watching so many television shows, or taking in information from unreliable media sources. Maybe it's even just simply gossiping too much. It's all about communication with the third house. This is also related to siblings and neighbors, and you might have some things coming up with relatives, which I will let you go on that one and figure out how that might relate to you. But I want to stick with the theme of like, what other ways can you connect? And you might be experiencing blockages in getting the message that you want to get out to the world, whatever that might be for you. So really ponder on that, because that is what is going to help you break free from this energy. Hello, my lovely Capricorns. This great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter will be occurring in your second house. So if you're interested in learning themes or significations of the second house, I popped them up on the screen. But my Capricorns, your entire life around money and possessions is about to be completely restructured. And yes, this has everything to do with your beliefs surrounding money, what you deserve, what you value, how you value yourself, and how you're going to deal with that, right? What are you going to do? How are you going to find more innovative ways? What systems are working and what systems are not working? It'll be probably very clear to you what systems are not working at this time. I'd like to suggest that you tap into your ability to invent and innovate, and you will definitely be rewarded financially. Now, this might not be something that happens overnight. Good old Saturn, he's the ruler of time, and it does take time. Things that are worthwhile take time. It's all about creating a healthier structure surrounding money, which will in return bring you more freedom and expansion in your life. So innovative ways so that you can expand and be free, but still be raking in that cash. So focusing on your long-term mission, and then Saturn will reward you. Hey Aquarius, you are the star of the show for this one. This great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter is happening in your sign, okay? So if you're a rising sign, it's in your first house. If you are an Aquarius sun, it's going to be hitting your sun at some point. At least Saturn will, right? And Jupiter individually. I don't know about the conjunction, but this is happening in your first house. If you want to know a little bit more about first house significations and themes, you can check on the screen right now. I put them up there for you. But my Aquarius friends, there may be some type of identity crisis presenting itself, because this is a big shift. This is a big change in your identity, who you are as a person. This could be your personal style, your personality, your body. How you approach life is going to change. You will feel a desire and an impulse to explore more of who you are underneath any belief systems that you may have accumulated throughout your life, any conditioning or indoctrination from families, society at whole, schools, just everything that you've been through in your life. It wants to bring you into an energy of more authenticity and living in your truth. And the three keywords here are realize, reassess, and refine. There will be doors closing and new doors opening, new doors bursting open, and you have to just be eager and willing to step through them, even in the unknown of figuring out who the heck you are as this new person. You know, you're growing, you're developing into something more suited to who you're becoming. It can be hard to let go of the old you. It can almost feel like a version of you is dying, is wilting away. So, you know, it may take some time to go inward to deal with that and grieve it. And that is totally 100% normal. All I know, Aquarius, is that it is time to reinvent yourself. There are some huge new chapters beginning for you. Pisces, last but certainly not least, this great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter is occurring in your 12th house. So if you're interested in learning about the 12th house themes, I did pop them up on the screen. But Pisces, this is like spiritual awakening energy. This is that mystical, spiritual 12th house. This house is very interesting. It could set you free somehow. And it could show you the truth behind reality and really help you to heal and work through some of the realms of the subconscious mind and the programming and the indoctrination and the things that are all a part of the mind that control our conscious waking behavior that we're not aware of, that are actually, you know, restricting our lives in a way where we can't progress because it's our subconscious mind that's holding us back. This could give you a whole new outlook on life as you know it. This may come through a period of solitude, which is going to be stepping away from the world to research, to go inward, you know, to really work on yourself. Be careful to be imprisoned and bound by your tendencies to escape from reality. This could be through addictions or self-sabotaging behaviors, whatever it might be. And these are probably like past tendencies. It could even be past life related, if that's something that you believe in, that you've carried in through different lifetimes. Just be aware of that. And if times get tough and you're working through some difficult things within yourself, try and find other outlets to deal with the energy, maybe like meditation or, you know, breathing exercises. And I just want to mention holy dreams, because Pisces is already a sign that dreams a whole heck of a lot anyways. So I would definitely count on having way more dreams than usual. And Pisces, I think that you guys underestimate the importance of your dreams anyways. They are sending you messages. You have to pay attention to them. You guys have prophetic dreams. So maybe a dream journal would be something that would be amazing for you to start during this time. This is a time of endings, my friend. Maybe a time to culminate things in life, including certain relationships, letting go of certain people, certain things, certain thoughts and behaviors that no longer serve you. All right, guys, that is all 12 signs. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're still with me, thank you so very much for joining me for my first webinar presentation. And I wish you the best of luck with these energies of the Great Conjunction. I'm sure in 2.5 years, there is going to be a certain aspect of our lives that we no longer recognize, and we see the beauty in what this alignment has brought into our lives. Thank you. As always, if you like the content, hit that like button below. Make sure to tap subscribe and share this with your friends. Leave me a comment, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Peace.